Sotah Daf Dalit is mostly Agadata discussing the crossing of Klal Yisrael of the Yarden and other situations which occurred at the time of Yeshua taking Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael. So we've just discussed that the way they crossed is that the Kohanim were carrying the Aron, and as soon as they stepped foot into the Yarden, the water continued flowing past them, but the water that was coming from upstream stopped and did not go any further, and therefore it began to dry out at their feet as the water downstream flowed away and the water upstream stopped. Now, the water therefore began to pile up because it kept flowing from upstream, but it stopped right where they were. So how high did the water pile up? So the pasuk says that it stood like a wall, and the height that it reached is a machlokes. According to one opinion, it was 12 mil. That's because Klal Yisrael's camp was 12 mil wide, and therefore it took them the time that it takes to walk 12 mil to go across it. And in the meantime, the water piled up to a height of 12 mil. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon says, if that would be true, that would mean that people and water flow and move at the same speed, but water is faster, and therefore it had to be much higher than 12 mil. If it would have started to flow again after it reached a height of 12 mil, they would not have passed, and it would still have flooded them. So it must be that it reached much higher than that, and that it piled up mounds and mounds of water. It actually reached a height of 300 mil, till it was visible for all the kings of the east and the west. Like the pasuk says, so everyone heard seaward and westward and eastward on all sides. Hashem dried up the waters of the Jordan mipnei bnei Yisrael ad Avram until they passed. And their hearts melted in fear. They did not have any spirit left to fight against bnei Yisrael. Now, the Gemara continues and says, even Rachav Azona heard, as she had said to Yeshua, that everyone heard about Kriyas Yamsuf, Kishemanu, Seshahivish, Esemish, Me Yamsuf. We heard that Hashem dried out the water of the Yamsuf, and it says, Venishma Vayimas Livavenu, and our hearts melted, a similar kind of expression. Now, says the Gemara, Yeshua made Klal Yisrael swear, and he gave them certain instructions as they were in the Yarden, while they were crossing through. So they're still in, and he said, I want you need to know why you are crossing this Yarden, in order that you should inherit the land from the people who live there now. Like it says, you should inherit it from all the people who are there. If you do that, good. If not, so then this water which is stopping here, it's going to come and it's going to flood you. Now, the word flood you, the word you here is oiseichem with a yud, alvav saf yud chafmem. That's a funny spelling. The word is usually oschem or eschem. So what is this word oseichem? So it's a combination of oisi and eschem, me and you. Now, while they were still in the river, Yeshua said further, he said, each of you pick up a stone, or 12 people pick up a stone on their shoulder, one for each shevet of Klal Yisrael. And these are the stones that they put in the water or near the water as a sign that in this spot they crossed the Yarden, like it says, this should be a sign in your midst, when your sons will ask you tomorrow, what are these stones? You should say that this is where we crossed the Yarden. This is a sign for the sons, for the children, that the fathers crossed the Yarden at this point. Now, the third thing that he said to them while they were still in the Yarden, he said, I want you to take stones out of the water. From the feet of the Kohanim, take and prepare 12 stones, and these are the stones that they took with them to Har Gerizim and Har Evel. Put them in the place we're going to spend the night. Says the Gemara would have thought that they have to have it with them every place they spend the night. No, it says Asher Talina by Halayla, only for this one night. It says Gemara further, Rabbi Yehuda, Abba Chalafna and Rabbi Elazar ben Masya and Rabbi Hanania ben Chachinai. They stood on those stones that they carried out of the water, and they estimated that each one weighed 40 sa. And we know that a person, when he lifts something up himself, can only carry a third as if someone else loads him up. If someone else loads him up, he can carry 3 times as much. So you see that when the Meraglim, when they were loaded up, could carry 3 times more. They could carry 120 sahs worth. Therefore, you can calculate the size of the cluster of grapes that the Meraglim brought, which took 8 people to carry. It's 120 sah for each one. Each individual could carry 120 sahs worth, and it took 8 people. So you could do the math. It comes to 960 sah. So there it says Vayisu b'moit b'shnayim. So the Gemara says they carried it with a stick with two people, one on each end of the stick. So the Gemara says, why do you have to tell me that? The fact that you told me that they put it on a stick, I know it was two people, one on each end. You're not going to carry it with one person on a stick. So it's coming to tell me that there were two sticks. And Yitzchak says there were three, a stick on top of a stick on top of a stick, each one crossways of the other one. So you had 8 people on each end of the final, because you had 2 and 2 and 2, so you had a total of 8 ends at the end. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, and therefore they had 8 people carrying the grapes. This is the Meraglim. 1 carried a rimon, 1 carried a te'ina. Now there were 12 altogether. Yeshua and Kalev didn't carry anything. Why? The reason could be because they were chashuv, they were respectable, or it could be because they weren't part of the plot and therefore did not want to join in. The Gemara has one more comment about the crossing of the Yarden before it goes into the sugya of the Meraglim more in depth. So the Gemara says, what is the machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon based on? Rabbi Yehuda said that the water rose up to a height of 12 mil. Rabbi Shimon said it rose up to a height of 300 mil or more. So Rami and Yitzchak and Afka have a machlokes as to what the machlokes is based on. One wants to say the machlokes is that Klal Yisrael cross in formation as they camped, in which case their entire camp went across in a space of 12 mil, because they camped in a space of 12 mil, and therefore it should take 12 mil to rise. And the other one, that would be the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Shimon, who says that it's over 300 mil, would say that they crossed in a line. They all formed a line, and therefore it was much, much longer than 12 mil, and that's how you got to 300 mil. So that's one pshat. And the other one wants to say, no, that's not the pshat. The pshat is how fast do people move, and how fast does water move. One holds that people move faster than water, and therefore they can get across only 12 mil. In only 12 mil of water piling up, while the other one holds they move a lot slower, and therefore it takes up to 300 mil. Now, the Gemara analyzes the parsha of the Meraglim in depth. So it begins with Shlach lecha anoshim. Hashem says to Moshe, send for you men. Rish Lakish says, you for your own opinion. You're the one who wants to do it, you do it. So the Gemara says, why would someone choose to do something which HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not want him to do? So it's not that he didn't want him to do, but he gave him the option, and Moshe said that he chose to do it, like it says in Devarim, Vayitav b'einei hadavar, it was good in my eyes. It says Rish Lakish, it was good in my eyes, it wasn't good in his eyes, it was not good in the eyes of Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now, about the Meraglim says, V'yachberu lanu v'sa'aretz, they were told, go and spy out the land. The word that's used is yachberu. Yachberu is similar to the word which means embarrassment. It says, B'chei bar Abba, the Meraglim always intended to embarrass Eretz Yisrael with their report, like it says here, V'yachberu lanu v'sa'aretz. And it says v'chafar halavana ubusha hachama in Yeshaya, and therefore it means embarrassment. Now, what are the names of the Meraglim? Says the Gemara, each one indicates what his ma'asim were. So the names are, the pasuk describes them. It's for Shevet Reuven, Shamu ben Zakur, and all the other ones. So Rabbi Yitzchak says we know that we have a Messiah that the names refer to their actions, but we don't know how to darshan them. The only one we know is Sisur ben Michael. Sisur is from the word to hide, so he was hiding HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ma'asim, that is, all the things that Hashem did to help them, he hid and didn't report them. And Michal, that he made weak, he made as if HaKadosh Baruch Hu Chas v'Shalom was weak and unable to help them cross into Eretz Yisrael. Says Rav Yechanan, I can tell you another drasha. Nachbi ben Vavsi. Nachbi is from the word lahachbi, to hide. Again, he hid the chesed HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for them. And Vavsi, that he stepped over the chesed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for them. Next, the pasuk says, Vayalu ben Negev v'yavei ad Chevron. They went up to the Negev, and he went to Chevron. Who's the he that went to Chevron? Says Rava, this refers to Kalev. He left on Meraglim and he went to the Kivarim of the Avos in Chevron. He was mispalel there. And he said, Avos, beg for mercy for me that I should be saved from the plot of the Meraglim. As far as Yeshua, Moshe Ben had already been mispalel for him. Like the pasuk says, but in Yeshua, he changed his name to Yehoshua to say, Kal Yoshi Achal Maftas Meraglim, Hashem save you from the plot of these Meraglim. Now, that's why the Torah says later, Avdi Kalev Ekef Haisuruach Haras Imai. Kalev had a different spirit with him, that he went on his own and he was able to do what needed to be done to save himself. The Pasuk says further, V'sham Achiman, Shesha, V'talmai, the three giants were there by those names. What do these names mean? So Achiman, the Gemara's first pshat is that he's Achi Miyuman, the brother of the right hand, meaning to say that he's the strongest of the three. Sheshai, that he makes Shemesim, that he makes the land into Shichosais. He destroys the land with his footprints. And Talmai, that he, from Lashon Talamim, furrows, that he makes the land into furrows when he walks. Another pshat is that Achiman built a city called Anat, Sheshai built a city called Alash, and Talmai built a city called Talbush. Now, they were called Yilidei HaAnak, which simple pshat means the children of the giant, but Anak is from the word Ma'anik, which means a gift or jewelry, as the sun appeared to be a jewel around their necks because of their great height. Next, the pasuk says, "V'chevron shiva shanim nivnasa lefnei tzayim Mitzrayim." Chevron was built 7 years before Mitzrayim. So the Gemara says it can't really have been built before Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim was the older son of Chum. Canaan was descended from the younger son. So Chevron would have been built later than Mitzrayim. So what it means is that it was 7 times better in level than Mitzrayim. Now, if you think about it, this tells us miraculous things about Eretz Yisrael. Chevron is a rocky and tough area. It's not a good place to grow. Yet it is better than Mitzrayim, and is better than Tzayan Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim is the best of all the lands of the world. This is watered by the Nile, like it says, Kigan Hashem Geretz Mitzrayim. The best of all the lands of Mitzrayim is Tzayan, like it says, Ki Hari B'Tzayan Sarov. So, Chevron, which is in Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael's worst land, is better than the best of the best land of the rest of the world. Now, the Gemara asks, is Chevron really rocky? It can't be, because we have a pasuk that says, "V'him mekain Abraham shana v'yomer Avshalom el Elchana," that Avshalom went back to Chevron, and what did he go for? He went to take sheep. He had to bring a carbon. He wanted to be mekayim a neder that he had said. So why would he go to Chevron for sheep? Obviously, that's where they graze, and there must be good land there because it has grass. The Gemara says no, it's bad land, and that's why it has grass, and that's why people don't plant. But it still is good enough to grow some grass for the livestock.